Hey everybody, it's Felisa. It is a beautiful day in my neighborhood. It's the evening though, child. I am on my way home finally. Daylight savings time just really has thrown me all off my square. Like, I feel like it is 7 o'clock at night when it's only 5:30. It's getting dark. It snowed this morning. I'm happy about that. Y'all know that I'm a fall, winter season kind of girl. Anyway, I did want to come and just briefly give my opinion, although nobody asked me, on the whole conversation that people have been having about T.I. and his disclosure, confession, whatever you want to call it, conversation that he has been accompanying his 18-year-old daughter to her gyno appointments yearly, I guess to determine whether or not she's still a virgin. And while I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with this, because I don't want it to be, I don't want it to be a culture clash. I don't want it to drift into religiosity, although this particular mindset does have its roots deep in those two things. What I really want to talk about is 2019 and the inability of women still to have body autonomy and to be a completely separate human being beyond their father or beyond their husband or beyond their boyfriend or what have you. And so, in case you haven't heard, the story has been making the rounds on Al Gore's internets, and I'll give full disclosure, and I'll say that I did not listen to the podcast or the interview or whatever it was. I have read several of the articles, and I've seen his commentary, although I did not hear it. I also want to issue a disclaimer and say that these are my thoughts, my ideas, my rants, my observations. It may or may not resonate with you. If it does, wonderful. If it does not, let's chop it up. Let's talk, as long as it's respectful. And I will also be on the record as saying that I recognize that the media does not do a good job of representing someone's true conversation all the time, right? So they lift things and they take things out of context and, make things appear one way when it's really the other. And so I'm aware of that too. But if I take his comments at face value, I am disturbed greatly. And this is why. Number one, is his daughter a known liar? Is there any reason in the world why your daughter would have to give you consent to speak to her physician in order to disclose whether or not she's still a virgin? Why can't we just talk about it, Daddy? Why must you come to the appointment and insist on speaking to the practitioner yourself? That raises a lot of red flags for me. That speaks to control, and it speaks to a level of possessiveness, not protectiveness, but possessiveness that is beyond normal. Number two, the girl is 18. She is an adult. She is probably on somebody's college campus as we speak. Little does T.I. know, he made her a target. There are many men who value the prize of virginity, would love to be the first one in the garden, and her inbox is probably going bananas, and that's probably not his intent. That was not what he intended to do, but he made her a target. Furthermore, it's humiliating not to be a virgin, but it's humiliating to have that kind of conversation on the national stage, given T.I.'s platform, and the conversation was centered around the sex of his daughter and what she's doing with her genitalia. Like, I just can't even imagine. And I know that kids are petty. Yes, I know 18 is not a kid, but to me it is. I'll say young people. Yeah, young people are petty, so I can imagine that somebody's probably be like, yo, I heard your daddy on whatever interview. All right, okay, I see you over there. You all right? You feeling good? How's that doctor's appointment coming? People are just so ruthless. I don't know why you would paint that target on her back and let people know her business that way. Am I on 2 or 3? Okay, we're just gonna say 3. Number 3, and what I think the biggest issue for me is that, there was once upon a time when women were considered chattel, right? This is the whole reason why women don't really have their own last names. That we take the names of our fathers, and then when we get married, we take the names of our husbands. But there is no surname that belongs to the maternal side of the family. All of the names and the lineages are handed down through the paternal side, or the patriarchy. And so part of this structure was that women and children came under the auspices and under the protection and under the rule of the man of the house. And as such, the women and the children were the man's property. And in many cultures, in many societies, it was a prize for a woman to be a virgin. Not only was it a prize to be a virgin, it was a dishonor for her not to be a virgin. And if it was found that she was not a virgin, they could take her out to the village square and they could stone her. And in case you don't know what stoning is, no, it's not just a matter of, you know, throwing rocks at a person. You stand in the field and somebody just chuck rocks at you. No, they would bury you in a hole up to your neck where only your head was showing, and then they would proceed to throw rocks at it. Big, heavy, cinder block rocks at your head until they knocked you unconscious and killed you. I don't know about y'all, but that's not a particularly pleasant way to go. I don't know of any pleasant ways to go, but that don't sound remotely interesting to me. The last thing I'm gonna say is, you know, this idea of checking for virginity in 2019 is not only ridiculous, it doesn't exist. Like, there's no such test that can tell you if someone is a virgin. All they can tell you is whether or not a hymen is intact. And if anybody knows anything about anatomy, the female anatomy, hymens can become ruptured, tear, break from a variety of things, not just sex. So even checking and seeing if a hymen is intact just because it's broken doesn't mean that she's been having sex. Similarly, just because it's intact does not mean that she hasn't. Furthermore, a lot of people are ridiculous in their inclusion of sex and don't include anal or oral sex. All of those are sexual behaviors. That's why they have the word sex after it. Think about that. So just because someone is not having vaginal sex does not mean that they're still a virgin. Does not mean that they haven't been penetrated in some way, and does not mean that they lack sexual experience. I think at the end of the day, the biggest red flag for me is the level of okayness that other women have with this nonsense. I have come to realize that, you know, for as much as I think that sometimes men create a lot of unnecessary issues with for us, you know, via the patriarchy and whatnot, women are the biggest offender of the worst behavior ever. The worst behavior ever. When it comes time to stand shoulder to shoulder with other women and be like, yeah, this is not what you want to do, this is not right, I promise you there will always be some woman somewhere going, I don't see nothing wrong with it. If y'all had daddies in the house, then y'all would understand. First of all, I don't know that I would understand that. I don't know that I would accept that. And I really, really, really want to be on the record as saying that just because something is accepted does not make it right. Just because something is done does not make it normal. Like, that's not normal at all. I'm not fond of carving out too many roles that are specific for men and women, but if I have to, I'm gonna have to go lean with mom on this and say that that's a mama's job. The person with the vagina should be talking to the person with the vagina about her vagina. See how that works? Seriously, that is how that works. That is the optimal way to have a conversation. And even if you need to have a conversation about abstinence or sexual education, you need to be careful about giving well-rounded advice as well. Just don't do it has never worked in the history of ever. Like, never, never, never. And so giving as much information to your daughters as possible about reasons to keep herself chaste or reasons to keep herself, you know, from having sexual encounters or sexual activity too early. Give her some boundaries and some parameters, but also give her some information. And the last thing that I'm gonna say is I really hope that he is as aggressively managing his son's genitalia as he is his daughter's, because it's not cool to lock little girls up and tell them that they can't indulge in whatever behavior and that they're not sexual creatures and deny them rights over their bodies. But meanwhile, you set your sons out in the street like they're dogs that are untamed, just straying out here, just humping everything like that. That is not a thing, and I am unable to can with that. Yeah, I don't know, y'all. I was bothered by that. I have daughters. You know, I can't even imagine if my ex-husband thought that he was remotely going to do that. I didn't do that with them. I had comprehensive conversations with them. Yes, I had, you know, graphic conversations with them, you know, probably to their embarrassment and to their chagrin, but it was necessary. My daughters can never say that they weren't prepared. I had the same kind of conversations with my sons. No one can ever say that they didn't know, that they were unprepared, that they didn't realize, none of that stuff, because I made sure that they understood and they know. And even now, they're all adults. I still have conversations with them about contraception. I have conversations with them about just engagement, interactions, even their emotions and their psyches, and, you know, the dating that they're doing. You know, it's unsolicited, but I still have those conversations. Whatever. Anyway, y'all can see it's getting dark, so I guess I need to wrap it up. That's nature's way of telling me to get off the phone, girl. I'm Felisa, and I will talk to y'all later on. Bye. Let me know what y'all think about down below. There's been a lot of energy back and forth on the internet, and I'm just curious. Like, what do y'all think? I'd be interested to know. Talk to y'all later. Bye.